Star Trek: The Motion Picture is directed by Robert Wise, written by Harold Livingston, based on, of course, the original series created by Gene Roddenberry, and stars everybody from that show: William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, Walter Koenig, Nichelle Nichols, George Takei, and introducing some new characters played by Persis Khambatta and Stephen Collins. And in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Admiral James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner, takes control of his old starship, the U.S.S. Enterprise, as they attempt to intercept a giant, dangerous energy cloud that's heading straight for Earth. Now, I am a really big fan of the original series of Star Trek, and I figured that before reviewing Star Trek Beyond, why not go back and review every single Star Trek movie that's ever come out. And I honestly can't really understand all the hate for this first movie. It's not a very good movie, but the acting in it is great and the soundtrack is fantastic, although it is admittedly just too uninteresting for a feature-length film. First things first, I really just love the entire cast from the original series. If you watch this movie without watching the original series, they're gonna come off as really campy, but I guess I'm just used to them, so I think they're all perfect in these roles. William Shatner really is just so great as Captain Kirk. Like, he has this real nice balance here between being a lot older than he was in the original series and also being like his typical hard-headed self. Leonard Nimoy doesn't have that much to do as Spock here, but he makes like all his little facial expressions speak volumes, which is what he did best. But DeForest Kelley as Bones really might be my favorite performer in the entirety of the Star Trek series because, I don't know, he's just so legitimately funny and he does it so effortlessly. But I was really impressed by the younger actors in this movie. Persis Khambatta plays this Delta named Ilea, and she has even like less emotion than Spock, and she plays it well. But I was very impressed by Stephen Collins here, who plays Decker, who's this new crew member, and he really kind of serves as a good sort of foil to Kirk, and I really thought their dynamic was really great. The other thing that's undeniably good about Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the score from Jerry Goldsmith. The score is just so fantastic. Like, it's almost single-handedly propels the entire movie forward. And what I like is that it's mostly all new music. You know, you don't really hear the old theme from the show until you see all the characters on screen, but even then, all the new music really captures the spirit of the original. Now, the thing about Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the fact that it does feel like a longer episode from the original series. This isn't always bad though. I mean, it is still good in the sense that the relationships among these characters are still really dynamic and just fun to watch. It's really interesting to see where Kirk and Spock have ended up since their adventures. It's really interesting to see Decker interact with them. And the dialogue in this movie is great. It really feels like an old episode in that the dialogue has a lot of intelligence and a lot of humor, and all the technical jargon actually makes sense. However, these are where the problems begin, because while the movie is well written, the overall story it's trying to tell just isn't that interesting, and as the movie ends, the resolution just isn't satisfying. But the biggest problem with Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the editing here by Todd C. Ramsey. Like, the pace in this movie is so unbelievably slow. I think they could have easily cut down 20 to 30 minutes off the total running time, which is over 2 hours. However, the slow pace in the movie does work for confrontations between characters because there is palpable tension between these characters. But to me, it's obvious why so many of these shots last for so long. It's because they're trying to show off the visual effects. And to the movie's credit, a lot of these visual effects really do look stunning, especially everything inside the giant energy cloud. Like, it really looks great especially for something from the 70s. However, there still are visual effects in the movie, like early on with the Klingon ships and with Vulcan and with the base in San Francisco, that just don't really hold up. But there's a lot of upgraded production design as well. You really buy into the fact that this is a new kind of enterprise. And Robert Wise, the director, really does a good job with the scenes that have to do with the characters, really. And what I love that he did with this movie is that he brings this sense of wonder into seeing the Enterprise again, seeing these characters again. You have to keep in mind, this is the first time these characters have been on screen in like 10 years. However, his direction can get a bit too self-serious when there's like a lot of visual effects on screen, especially the worst scene in the movie, the wormhole scene. Like, it's so unintentionally hilarious and it's really cringeworthy. But overall, I do actually think that Star Trek: The Motion Picture is okay. I don't think it deserves all of this hate. I can imagine that fans really liked it when it came out in 1979, but yes, as a Star Trek fan, I have to admit that it's not like the best representation for what Star Trek has to offer. But anyway, those were my quick thoughts on Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.